It's almost time.
Welcome in, everybody. It's Monday night. We are the Sports Hounds exclusively on A2D Radio, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. We're live on. Miss anything here on A2D Radio, download us wherever you get your podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and iTunes, absolutely everywhere. He's Brad Ryer. I'm Rob Brinkman. We're brought to you by Aria Public Adjusting each and every Monday night. Our good friends at Aria Public Adjusting, helping you with damage to your home or property. Don't fight your homeowner's insurance alone. Contact Aria Public Adjusting, 813-564-3364. Tell them A2D Radio sent you. Also brought to you by Baguio Breads, located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey, home of the best stuffed breads, tomato pie, sandwiches, cutlets, and meatballs. Mention A2D Radio, 10% off your in-store order. Brad, we're having a lot of fun tonight. A lot of divisive topics on the docket tonight. We have, obviously, Major League Baseball. It's going to take up the majority of our time today. Opening day's 3 days away. Phillies get cracking against the Texas Rangers Thursday, 4:05.
And boy, you have one hell of a tough test to start.
Yes,
I mean, I thought you were done with Jake DeGrom.
I thought we were done with Jacob DeGrom too, and I said it right after he signed him. Thank God he's gone, because I know he has health issues, but he is a stud pitcher. He might be the best pitcher I've ever seen pitch live. Thought we were done with him. 4:05 in Arlington.
He's
pretty good. Aaron Nola. It's going to be Aaron Nola against Jacob DeGrom. And I hate to say it, but the Phillies have a lot of issues right now. Phillies are not bringing their best down to Arlington. So we're going to talk about that big picture. Your Yankees start in the Bronx with...
Yeah, we're missing who are we missing? We're missing Rodon, and we're missing Severino. So that they're missing two of their top four pitchers. They're going to be bringing... They're from what it sounds like, Johnny Brito is going to be the number 5 pitcher in the rotation. Herman 4. And Schmidt 3, or vice versa, and then you're going to have Cole and what's his name, Cortez, Nasty Nestor. So,
and you look at the
they're
schedule.
They're going to have to get through all that.
You look at the schedule, Brad. After the Phillies go to Arlington, they're going to the Bronx.
Yes, they
for
are.
A 3-game set against the Yankees. Both teams with a lot of problems. Both teams going to have the back end of their starting rotations starting in that series, and both teams still have very above average lineups despite injuries. So there should be a lot of runs, should be a lot of fun coming up here on the Sports Hounds with the Phillies and Yankees facing off this early in the season. We have NFL free agency. We're going to talk about Bijan Robinson. We're going to talk about Lamar Jackson. We're going to talk about the Flyers and the NHL and Carter Hart. And we're going to talk about the Sixers as they have a showdown with the Denver Nuggets tonight at 9:30. Looks like James Harden will be back, but Joel Embiid not playing. And I'm not pleased with the Sixers after Saturday night. Getting absolutely boat raced in Phoenix when, albeit you're missing James Harden. The Suns were missing Kevin Durant and DeAndre Ayton. There's no reason to get boat raced in that basketball game, which is why the Philadelphia 76ers, I have a hard time believing them. I've been saying it. I've been cautious. This is why.
Yeah, every time I keep thinking, oh boy, they're going to win this year. And then they do things like that.
Any questions, comments, throw them in the chat. We're here for you. We're for the fan, by the fan. So we will get to those throughout the show as well. We can't do it without you. We certainly appreciate everyone hitting that like, hitting that subscribe, turning those notifications on, and being loyal listeners to A2D Radio. Brad, let's get to our poll question. Our poll question is brought to you by Creative Window Design, serving New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Florida, fully authorized Hunter Douglas dealer. There's Jeff's number right there, 609-226-0391. That's a free consultation if you tell them A2D Radio sent you. Don't miss out on that. And we're also brought to you by Primo Hoagies. They need no introduction. They need no fancy read. They need no fancy description. It's Primo's Hoagies.
Best in the business.
It's not a hoagie. It's a Primo. Get him for all your needs for upcoming Final Four, upcoming tailgates, going down to the ball yard. Primo Hoagies, they'll hook you up. So our poll question tonight, Brad, is the Philadelphia Phillies will win the National League East. Agree, disagree. We outlined their problems. Their problems got a whole lot worse earlier this week as Rhys Hoskins tore his ACL, in case you've been living under a rock. This is a big loss. On top of that, you have Bryce Harper injury. They are going to be without Bryce Harper for, I would imagine, about 3 months of this season. And the one that no one is talking about, Brad, is projected number 3 starter, Ranger Suarez. He's not even throwing a baseball right now. So we don't really know when he's going to be back. He's the lefty in the rotation. It was assumed that after his great playoff performance last year, that he was going to solidify the number 3 role behind aces Aaron Nola and Zach Wheeler.
Well, I guess it's going to be Taijuan Walker, but I honestly don't consider him a number 3. He's a number 5 on a good pitching staff.
So, I mean, you're going to have Taijuan Walker at 3. You're going to have Bailey Falter at 4. Then it's spit and glue with the number 5 starter, I guess, until further notice, until Ranger Suarez can get healthy. So when you look at this poll question with all those issues that I just outlined, I don't see how they can win this division. And the Phillies got hot at the right time. They were to defeat the Braves in the playoffs and go to the World Series. Just because I don't think that they're going to win the division without Rhys, without Bryce for 3 months, and without Ranger Suarez for the foreseeable future, doesn't mean I don't think they're a good team. I think they are, but I think that this is Atlanta's division to lose right now. They're young. They're hungry. They added Sean Murphy. They have a good bullpen. They have a good starting rotation. Ronald Acuna is healthy. So, I mean, this Braves team is loaded, and the Phillies, they haven't even played a game yet, and the Phillies have a lot of injury problems. So, once again, I'm gonna ask the people out there. I'm gonna ask Brad. Leave your sales pitch in the comments and tell me why this baseball team is going to win the National League East. Because unfortunately, right now, on March 27th, 2023, 3 days before they open in Arlington against a pretty good baseball team in the Texas Rangers, I don't see them winning this division. I do see them grabbing one of the 3 wild card spots and making the postseason because Bryce is going to come back. I'm going to assume that Ranger Suarez is going to be back at some point. Rhys Hoskins, you have closure on. He's done for the year. So, I mean, Brad, the Phillies topper, Rob Thompson, he's got his work cut out for him for this first half of the season. He needs to keep this baseball team afloat with not only the Braves, but the Mets as well. Obviously, the Mets have a lot of talent and spend a lot of money. Can never really figure it out when it matters most, though. So I'm not that worried about them. Plus, I hate them. So I'm not going to.
Doesn't everybody?
Look,
I don't particularly like them either, Rob.
The Mets and the Cowboys are 2 teams that I will never come on these airwaves and pound the table for. Giants, I can be at least a little objective because at least you're a respectable New York Giants fan. But I'll never pound the table for the Mets or the Cowboys on these airwaves. So I see the Phillies finishing second. I see the Braves winning the division. And I see the Phillies grabbing one of the 3 wild cards. Rhys Hoskins is a big injury, Brad. It really is. And I know people don't like him, and he's kind of the whipping boy when things are going bad for this franchise. But, I mean, he hits a lot of home runs. He's on base an awful lot. He more than makes up for those numbers, those on-base percentage and power numbers, and the amount of runs he produces, more than makes up for his deficiencies at first base. Let's face it, Brad, you don't need a Gold Glove first baseman to be a winner in this league. You just don't. Usually it doesn't hurt.
Let's put it this way. If you have a Gold Glover and he can hit 30 home runs like Rizzo, then okay. That's fine. But you don't have having a defensive-minded first baseman is not. That's not how baseball teams win. They win because their first baseman hit a lot of home runs. That's what first basemen do. And as far as Rhys Hoskins is concerned, Rob, I've always been a fan of his, and I picked him for my fantasy team, as you know, and
yes,
yeah, and you know what? As far as I'm concerned, that's a big loss for me. I mean, I just lost 30 home runs and 79 RBIs, and if I'm a Philly fan, I'm saying to myself, shit, I just lost 30 home runs and 79 RBIs. Where am I going to get that from? Who's gonna replace that? And Bryce Harper's not in the lineup right now, so I'm going to have a few more home runs and RBIs taken away from me. And I'd be concerned because you've outlined the pitching issues. We're not sure about their bullpen. They've got some names there, but some of these names haven't really been pitching all that well the last few years. To me, the bullpen is going to live and die on the right arm of Sir Anthony Dominguez. As far as I'm concerned, I finally got a real good look at him last year in the playoffs and in the World Series, and with that curveball, Rob, or whatever the hell you call it, that ball that drops about 18 inches, that guy should be closing games, and no, they should not be screwing around with anybody else. I mean, my God, that guy's a good reliever. What the hell is he? Why the hell is he not closing? By the way, I have him on my fantasy team too, and no, I'm not cutting him. Unless the Phillies are stupid enough not to make him the closer. Okay, huh?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, listen, and I'm not. I'm not a Philly fan, okay? But I give credit where credit is due. That guy has good stuff. I mean, he really has good stuff, and you know what? He should be closing, and all the other guys should be building the bridge to him. He's now been in the league long enough, and he should have the maturity to be able to handle that. Plus, he pitched great last year in the playoffs, and you know what? That to me is all you need to know about this guy. If he can handle the playoffs, he can handle closing. Period. So let him close. He's got the best stuff in that bullpen by far. Not even close.
Totally agree. Sir Anthony Dominguez should 1,000% just give him the ball in the ninth inning. Let's not get cute. You have other guys that can bridge the gap.
Exactly. And you know what? If he needs a rest, okay, then you can play around and see what else you've got. That's what spring training's for.
You have
to see who else you got, and to see who fits in when your closer, who in my opinion should be Sir Anthony Dominguez because he has the best stuff on the team, other than Nola and Wheeler. He should be your closer. I after watching him pitch last year, my whole question is, why the hell have they always been fooling around with this guy? That guy's got great stuff. I mean, Alvarado to close? Come on. He's not as good as this guy, and it's that simple. As far as the poll's concerned, I can make the argument that they still have a chance to win the division, and I'll tell you why, Rob. For whatever reason, the Atlanta Braves always seem to get off to a slow start, and they don't seem to pick it up until June. Okay, so if the Phillies can at least be over 500, and I think they're good enough to do that, and stay and keep it within reason as far as the gap, I think they'll be okay. Now we also know that the Braves pick it up and play great in the second half of the season, and right around June 1st is when they seem to start kicking it into high gear. But right around then you might be getting Bryce Harper back. And maybe by then you'll figure out what's going on what you're going to do at first base, and have a long-term answer for this season. As far as not having Rhys Hoskins, I've heard that they're going to have that guy Hall. I don't know anything about him, Rob. I don't watch enough Philly games to make an accurate assessment about him. But it sounds like the fans are liking him because they don't like Hoskins, and I hope that's not the case, because
that's 1,000% the case.
No, that's bad.
I've had people argue with me that saying that this is a blessing in disguise that Rhys Hoskins is hurt.
How is it a blessing in disguise to lose 30 home runs?
It's not. Those people are stupid RBIs and don't know baseball.
And he'll have more RBIs if he hits higher in the lineup, because Trey Turner is going to be on base a lot. So that's just ridiculous. I don't get that. I mean, they do not get the fact that there aren't that many first basemen who hit as many home runs as Hoskins. Okay, he is in the upper echelon of first baseman. He's a top 10 first baseman for sure. Is he the best first baseman in baseball? No, but he's in the top 10. You can't tell me that there aren't more than 10 first basemen, that there aren't more than 9 first basemen that are better than him.
Now, it looks like, per Dave Dombrowski, it looks like Derek Hall, who is the apple of Philadelphia's eye right now because people, I guess, dislike Rhys Hoskins that much. It looks like he is going to get the lion's share, at least a shot to replace Rhys Hoskins. Now, there's probably going to be some platooning in there. A popular scenario is that Alec Bohm moves over to first base and then Edmundo Sosa.
That would be silly.
Well, you have Sosa
as your
utility guy to put in third.
I would not move Bohm from third. I mean, this is a guy you've developed for how many years now to be your third baseman. He's finally locked in as a third baseman. Okay, and now you're going to move him to first when he's just starting to enter his prime? Come on, don't be playing games with this guy. That's silly. You know, there is a guy that you could move to first base who has played first base in his career. Maybe not well, but maybe, just maybe, it might be a defensive upgrade. That's Nick Castellanos. He used to play first base when he was with Detroit. Why not try him there?
Came up as a third baseman in his early years in Detroit, if I remember correctly, which I think that I do.
And if you can play third base, you can play first base.
But you're short an outfielder.
Okay, so but it's easier to find an outfielder than it is a third baseman.
I agree. The only sense that moving Bohm, which I agree with you, I get nervous when you're moving guys around out of their comfort level because you risk making two positions weaker instead of one. But you do have Edmundo Sosa, who came over from the Cardinals last year and did a phenomenal job, and he's a notorious plus fielder. So you could put him at third and Bohm at first. And
what about putting him at first instead?
Sosa?
No,
I don't know. I guess all options are on the table for me because
I'm in your boat here as far as what you're saying. Okay, I don't like making guys switch positions in their career. I hate that. I think it's just not smart to do that. You know, but I understand that it's all about them winning a championship, and maybe that's what they have to do to win a championship. And you know, if they feel that this is the way to go, okay, then I guess that's the way to go. But Bohm is finally becoming a really good third baseman. He's finally starting to make some real nice plays there. He's giving you an offensive lift there. It just seems to me that you're not. It doesn't behoove you to do that to Bohm. I just don't think it's a very good idea.
Now maybe late game defensive substitutions. You put Sosa at third and move Bohm to first.
Okay, if you want to do that, but I first of all, the other problem is if he struggles at the position a little bit, is it going to affect his hitting? Because sometimes
we've seen that his struggles at third base absolutely affected his hitting early in last year.
Yeah, and now you're having him play two positions. Now, third base and first base, to me, if you can play third, you can play first because it's basically the same thing. You're getting scalded balls hit down there. Okay, you just don't have to make a throw. Third base is a much harder position to play than first. But first base, you have to catch pop-ups at third and you have to catch pop-ups at first. It's the same animal. But
it's going to be creativity.
I don't think it's a good idea.
It's going to be a lot of creativity, Rob Thompson.
Yeah, I just don't think it's a good idea. Just because you can play first, it doesn't mean you can play third. But if you play third, you can play first. That's just my theory on all this stuff. The
temperature just got raised on guys like Nick Castellanos, who
Why can't he play first?
I'm not ruling out any. I'm not ruling out anything because you have to.
Can't be. Listen, you can't get too much worse in the outfield. I mean, getting him out of the outfield and at first base is addition by subtraction at this point, because you could probably put a better suited outfielder out there than him defensively. And maybe he'll relax. Maybe he'll relax a little bit more playing first base instead of the outfield. I don't know. That's a decision for people who are more knowledgeable about baseball than I am, as far as what they want to do.
Now, I have not seen a final definitive 26-man roster from the Phillies yet. I'm sure that'll be coming out in the next couple of days. But like, if you move Nick Castellanos to first base, like, are you comfortable starting a spring training standout like Jake Cave in the outfield every day?
Well, he's been an outfielder and has played every day, and he's always been a good hitter. I remember him from the Yankees. He was an outstanding outfielder and offensive player in the Yankee farm system, and the Yankees traded him. I don't remember who they traded him for, but he was in the Yankee farm system. And he's been a pretty good hitter. I just think you might be better off doing that, to be honest with you. Listen, there's a lot of ways you can go with this. Cave, I think, is also a left-handed hitter, isn't he? I thought he was left-handed. Maybe I'm wrong, but I could have sworn.
I think you're right.
I could have sworn when he was in the Yankee farm system, he was a left-handed hitter.
Make sure. Yeah, bats left, throws left.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
He's 30. So, I mean,
he's always been a pretty
good hitter. He can play right field every day. Is that the best? Is that the best course of action? Castellanos at first, Jay Cave in right.
I think you're a better defensive team doing that.
Marsh is going to play center, and Schwarber is locked into left.
I think don't you think you're a better defensive team doing that? I mean,
is that a better defensive? Is that a better defensive look than? Look, there's no sugarcoating this. Losing Rhys Hoskins sucks, and your offense is going to be worse. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like 30 home runs on base, RBI. I mean, I imagine averages, I think, are going to be up across the league because of no shift. So, I mean, instead of hitting 240 for Rhys Hoskins, could he have hit 260 this year in a contract year when he's looking to get paid an awful lot of money? Maybe 270. I think your boy Rizzo is going to hit. He's not going to be hit. He's not going to hit 230 this year, Rizzo, because of the shift.
No, he's probably going to hit 260, 270, and he'll hit his usual 30 home runs. I mean, he's learned to take full advantage of Yankee Stadium right field for sure, as we saw last year. So we can expect that in New York. So why not?
So what produces more wins? Jay Cave in right all the time, or Bohm first and Sosa at third?
Well, that's
full time.
Yeah, that's the decision that they can make. But they got some time to figure some of this stuff out. I mean, look, they're going to be playing games, obviously, and you know what? It's only April, so they'll figure things out. And is it possible that they can make a trade along the way? That somebody might be on the outside looking in somewhere.
I'll tell you what. I think to win the World Series, they have MLB Network on right now. They have their sleeper World Series champion picks. We'll get to all that later. But I think for this team to ultimately have a parade down Broad Street, they're going to have to trade for a first baseman. They're going to have to sacrifice some prospects. They're going to have to sacrifice maybe something in the future. Nothing crazy, like Andrew Painter shouldn't be traded for a first baseman. You don't need that type of move. But if I could trade for CJ Cron for the Colorado Rockies, I would do that right now.
I'm not crazy about him, but
that's the only name that I've seen out there that possibly could be available that satisfies me. Like Luke Voit. Like, that doesn't do anything for me. I'd rather try and figure it out with the guys that I have than the guys like Luke Voit and, guys on that level. I think CJ Cron is a cut above all those guys. So I would trade for CJ Crone today, tomorrow, next week, next month.
Obviously, they probably won't do that right now. I'm just looking to see 2024.
You get guys on a contract year. Who knows what's going to happen out in Los Angeles with the Angels? You got to think a fire sale is imminent there because I don't think they're going to be very good. And they have 2 of the 3 best players in baseball. You get guys like Jared Walsh out there that play first, and
Okay,
I'm going
to give you a list of names here that are going to be free agents at the end of the season. Okay, to play that they can play. Here's one that's going to play first base. They can play first base. I don't know if you'd want Joey Votto. If the Reds agree to take some salary,
doesn't do much at this point. Look, Joey Votto is probably going to go in the Hall of Fame one day. Unbelievable player, but
at this stage of his career, I don't know if he's. I just don't know if he's worth it.
And it's not like a guy who's like won anything or has. Maybe he is a great clubhouse guy. I don't know. I don't follow the Reds that much, but no, that doesn't really do much for me at this point in his career. Joey Votto.
Yeah, I'm just looking at free agent first baseman.
Yeah, because they're going to be easiest to trade for because they'll be a rental,
right.
And then you can figure out something long term in the offseason. Rhys Hoskins wasn't a contract year, so he probably is on that list you have there. Maybe you get him super cheap now that he's coming off an ACL injury. I don't know. That's really the only silver lining in this whole situation in the long-term thing, because Aaron Nola is going to get a big contract, and I hope it's from the Phillies. They've broken off contract talks for now, so it's not a distraction in the season. But, you look at what Rodon got, and I think that's the blueprint for Aaron Nola. So Aaron Nola is probably going to get a $200 million contract in the offseason.
Here's a first baseman that's a free agent that might interest you. I don't know if they could get him, but Josh Bell.
Well, I mean, he just signed with the Guardians, and I think the Guardians are going to be really good.
It's going to be a 1-year deal, though, right?
Is that all he signed is a 1-year deal?
I mean, it says here that
Josh Bell is a terrific player. He's got power. He gets on base.
CJ Cron is going to be a free agent. Trey Mancini signed a 1-year contract, so he's going to be a free agent. Let's see.
That's
Trey
interesting.
Mancini could be a pretty good fit because he can hit. G-Man Choi, I'm sure you don't want him.
No, I'll pass on him. Trey Mancini, I mean, he won last year with the Astros.
Yeah, and he's always been good. Darren Ruff, no, you don't want him.
Darren Ruff stinks. We've been there, done that with Darren Ruff.
Aguilar. So really, if you take a look at the first baseman, if possible first baseman you can get, other than Joey Votto and maybe Josh Bell, I mean they would be the 2 big names. They were Mancini. Listen, Mancini just signed a 1-year deal with the Cubs. The Cubs will stink by the end of June. They'll be out of it. So if you're looking in the middle of the season, he can play first and he can play the outfield, and he can also play third too. I don't know. He might be somebody you could look at in the middle of the season.
I mean, I think that's where we're at. It's like, I mean, all due respect to Derek Hall and the fan base's infatuation with him. I mean, he's not going to be as good offensively as Rhys Hoskins at first base. And is he some type of Gold Glover that I'm missing? That he's going to be that much better defensively than a Rhys Hoskins? I don't see that.
I doubt it. I don't see that at all.
I mean, Derek Hall, he's a situational starter, preferably a designated hitter, which the Phillies do need a designated hitter until Bryce Harper comes back. And then after Bryce Harper comes back, he's going to be clogging up your DH spot.
Okay, well here's another something for you to look at. Okay? Free agent outfielders. Okay, if you were to move Castellanos to first base.
Well, first off, long term, the outfield is set. And by long term, I mean after the All-Star break. You're gonna have Bryce Harper in right field whenever he's able to throw the baseball adequately. And he's not a bad fielder. He's not a Gold Glover, but he's not a bad fielder. Brandon Marsh is going to be in center.
Nobody said he's a bad fielder. He's a very good. As a matter of fact, he's a very good fielder. He may not have as great an arm as he used to. after this. But I'm sure he's not going to really let loose anything anytime soon. But he's still a really good outfielder.
And then
I just want to give you.
Then you're gonna have Marsh. You usually have Marsh in center and Schwarber in left. So your outfield post All-Star break is set. So right. I don't know if trading for an outfielder makes sense.
So Harper would go to right, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So if you look at it this way, okay, some of the guys that they could get. Here's a guy that's perfect. Would be perfect for you guys. Jock Peterson.
He's on the Giants right now, correct?
Right. He's a left-handed bat. Okay. He signed a 1-year contract. He's going to be a free agent. If things don't work out, I forgot about him. He's somebody that would be a good fit for you too. And he's a left-handed hitter, and you definitely could use one of those. I mean, he might actually be the guy you guys end up getting in the middle of the season. Because if you think about it, that would be probably the perfect fit and the perfect solution to have him play first base. I know when Harper gets back, Castellanos would probably move to DH. But I mean, as far as first baseman, that guy would be a perfect fit, and you could even throw him in the outfield to give Harper a rest.
So I mean, getting back to our poll. So getting back to our poll question, it's going to take a lot of smoke and mirrors for this baseball team to win the National League East, which did have 3 playoff teams last year. You got the Marlins.
I would say they make the playoffs. It's going to be hard for them to win the division just because of the injuries, the injury bug. But the way they can win the division is if Atlanta doesn't get off to a good start, which they've been known to do the last few years. If Atlanta gets off to a great start, the Phillies find themselves like 10 games behind in the middle of June, then obviously that's a problem. But, they just haven't done that. They, for whatever reason, they kind of feel their way around for the first 6-7 weeks of the season, and they don't really get rolling until around the beginning of June.
All right, let's get to some comments here. Tell us what you think about the Phillies, how they stack up in both the National League and the NL East. Comments tonight brought to you by Alan Foy, eXp Realty. Looking to buy or sell a home, looking for a change in career or brokerage, contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty, 302-682-8820. You also visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. Leading off tonight is our man, Ryan Swoop. What's going on, Ryan? Thanks for checking in. Brian Daly, your hockey happy hour cohort. Things are getting interesting in the NHL, barreling towards the NHL playoffs. We're going to talk some Flyers.
My man, Brian. He is the man.
We're going to talk about some Flyers and some big picture NHL later on the evening, so stay tuned for that. And then check them out tomorrow on the Hockey Happy Hour. I'm going to agree to the poll. It's their division to lose. Okay. I get it. The bullpen's better. Trey Turner's unbelievable. $300 million well spent. But for them to win the division, not only are they going to have to do smoke and mirrors with their defensive alignment, Trey Turner's going to have to earn a $400 million contract instead of just the $300 million he's being paid. Nick Castellanos is going to have to earn his money. You're going to need 40 plus from Schwarber. You're going to need Brandon Marsh to not strike out as much as he does, not being an MVP caliber offensive guy. Alec Boehm's probably going to have to hit 20 homers, which I think he's capable of doing. He's ready to make the jump to do.
I'm expecting 25 and 80 from Alec Boehm. I don't think that's asking too much, is it?
I mean, the power part, I think that's a little overzealous. Well, he played at Wichita State. He was, I think, the 8th pick in the draft for the Phillies. How many did he hit last year? Look, he's always been an average contact guy, not a power guy. Now, is he going to take the jump and develop a power stroke? Boy, I hope so. That would help this team a lot if he hits that many home runs. But, I mean, he only hit 11 last year.
Oh, he only hit 11. That's a lot to
he's
ask.
just not.
Okay.
It's just not his game. He needs to catch the ball at third.
18 and 70.
20 home runs. Look, you need in today's MLB, I think you need 6 guys to hit 20-plus homers.
That's not easy.
That's not easy to win the. I think to win the championship. I think that's what you need.
You might. Yeah, I know.
The Yankees are going to have that. The Astros. Well, I mean, that's not the best example because I think that the Astros really going to miss Verlander this year.
Yeah,
so, I mean, I don't know. Is that out of bounds for me to say that you need 6 20 home run guys to? The Braves are going to have that. The Mets are probably going to have that.
6 is a lot, though. I think 5. You can get away with 5. I think you need to have 10 guys that have at least 10 home runs. That I think is for sure. I feel that way.
Okay, who's the Phillies? Who's the Phillies 5 then?
Right now? Well, I think if Harper comes back in the second in June.
Yeah, I think he's going to get to 20. I think
he'll get to 20.
Even missing time, I think that's fair.
Yeah, he'll get to 20. I think Turner will get to 20 most definitely. Let's see.
Realmuto.
Schwarber.
So they have
Realmuto
5.
Realmuto will. Schwarber will. I can't guarantee anything else. Any of the other guys, unless somebody steps up.
Bohm has to, and that would be number 6 by my math.
Well, if Bohm can, yeah. I mean, but to me, there's no reason why he can't all of a sudden develop. A lot of guys develop power strokes later in their career. I mean,
the temperature.
Some guys never even show power in the minors, and all of a sudden they come up to the majors. I'll give you a real good example of that. Don Mattingly was never a home run hitter in the minors, and then when he comes up before he hurt his back, he's hitting 30 to 35 home runs a year. It can happen. I mean, if Bohm is a contact guy, he starts barreling up some balls. You never know what's going to happen. Philly's is a good hitting ballpark. You can get a lot done in that ballpark.
Frank Vesby, it's going to be the Mets and the Braves to start the season. Hope when the Phillies get Harper back, it'll make it a nice 3-team race. Ryan Swoop, before the Hoskins injury, I was thinking the Phillies would go somewhere around 38-22 in 60 games without Harper, but not losing Hoskins, that makes it even more unlikely. Harper may be back before 60 days, according to Dombrowski. First off, you really have to be careful with Bryce Harper because Bryce Harper is a gladiator. Bryce Harper is a competitor. So it's going to be on this training staff to protect Bryce Harper from himself because Bryce Harper is going to be pushing hard to come back sooner than expected now that his good friend, and he's a good friend to a lot of guys in the clubhouse, Rhys Hoskins, great clubhouse guy, is going to be out for the whole season. And he's not coming back. We have finality. We have closure on that. So Bryce Harper coming back too early is.
Yeah, you got to watch that because
gotta be careful.
He's too valuable a player to let himself get hurt again. I mean, usually it takes guys. I remember Gleyber Torres had Tommy John. He was a second baseman, and it took him 9 months after the surgery to get back on the field.
That was also his non-throwing elbow, correct?
Yeah, you're right. It was his non-throwing elbow, but it still took him 9 months to get back on the field to swing a bat. So I mean, either way, to swing a bat, it takes about 9 months. Now, when did Harper get the Tommy John surgery?
November.
So
maybe even December. Maybe even early December.
Okay, so let's say December 1st. December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July. I mean, he may not be back till July.
And
I don't think he's going to play. I don't think he's going to play the outfield until August. But I could see like early July for him to play. I mean, they have to be careful with him because they can't afford to lose him. You know, if they have championship aspirations, he's the key to everything on that team. He makes the he's the straw that stirs the drink, as Reggie Jackson used to say about himself. Bryce Harper right now is truly the straw that stirs the drink in Philadelphia.
See, ESPN ranked him as the 58th best player in baseball.
58?
58.
Even I disagree with that.
That's extraordinarily low.
Yeah, that shouldn't be that. Somebody who must not like him, or must be very anti-Philly.
Well, I mean, ESPN is trash.
Yeah, they're Red Sox fans. Don't forget. So that just proves your point.
Red Sox. Yeah, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. They give the Yankees their love too, and they give the Mets their love too. But I mean, ESPN is hot garbage these days. I remember when I was a little kid, the ESPN had a monopoly conglomerate over sports information. Now I barely watch it. It's a joke. So 58, that doesn't help their case for me to be a fan of ESPN. And now, apparently, more layoffs are.
I think 58. I would disagree. I would strongly disagree with that.
Ryan, the Houston Astros are slightly ahead of the San Diego Padres on paper as the best team in baseball.
How are the San Diego Padres the best team in the best team in baseball? How did they get up there when they have no pitching?
A lot of glitz, a lot of glamour. I mean, they do have Yu Darvish.
Okay, and he's 160 years old now. And he's never pitched well in the playoffs, by the way. When was the last time he won a playoff game? When Moby Dick was a guppy?
The Phillies certainly had their way with him in the NLCS.
Everybody has their way with him in the playoffs. Don't you remember when he pitched for the Dodgers? How bad he was?
Who's the number
against
two?
The Red Sox
everyone just looks at the Padres lineup.
Okay.
Yeah. Everyone looks at the Padres lineup, and Tatis is going to be back, I think, April 20th or April 21st. So he's not going to miss that much time with the suspension, and he's going to be healthy. So
he gets hurt again.
Well, it doesn't look like he's matured at all.
No, he's still an idiot.
The error of his ways. And they brought in Bogarts, and they have Machado, and they have Juan Soto.
They can hit. Okay.
They can hit.
Their pitching stinks, though.
As far as the Astros go,
they brought in they lose. They brought in Jose Abreu to play first base. They lose Yuli Gurriel, and now Abreu's playing first base. And Abreu, we'll see with Abreu. I think he could have a really good season with those Crawford boxes. It doesn't take a heck of a lot to hit a home run down there in that part of the stadium. Look, losing Verlander and McCullers isn't going to be back probably till May. So, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Listen, do I think that they have an awesome young threesome for their pitching staff? Yeah. When you take a look at Framber Valdez, okay, Christian Javier, and Garcia for their top three, those are three real good pitchers. But then what happens after that? Are the 4 and the 5 going to be? If McCullers is healthy and can continue to pitch all season, that's your number 4. And 5, you can always find a minor leaguer or Quiddy maybe. I guess would be the 5. I don't know. They're without Verlander. They're not the same team. I think losing Verlander, it's not just losing him his talent. It's also losing his leadership on the pitching staff, and that could be a problem.
I mean, maybe not. Apparently, he can't throw a strike at New York Mets spring training, and Mets fans are freaking out. I think he's going to be fine.
So they're worried about spring training stats. Okay, I mean,
Well, they're snake bit like they usually are because Edwin Diaz's knee exploded in the World Baseball Classic, and they have their share of injuries going into the season as well, and they always blow it.
But every team has injuries. I mean, listen, I understand. Listen, my team has injuries. Your team has injuries. They have injuries too. Oh well, that's the way it is. Sometimes you don't always get all the breaks with injuries. You have to hope that you have enough depth. Both minor league depth and depth on the team to be able to fill in any hole that comes up. And the thing with the Mets is they do have a very good bullpen, and they do have a very good farm system. They can always trade somebody on their farm system and go get themselves a reliever at the All-Star break if they need to do that.
Or then maybe one of their guys Uncle Stevie kind of bitched out at the trade deadline last year. They didn't really do much of anything, and it hurt them.
Yeah, but I think this year, if there's an obvious weakness that they need to cover up to try to win a championship, I think they'll go out and address it. I don't think they won't not address an obvious weakness if none of their guys can step up and be a closer.
Ryan Swoop, Thompson will go by the lineup and best guys up if that's in the 8th inning, and then Thompson will use Dominguez there. I mean, okay. Look, your best guy should close the game. And I know that, look, there's very few workhorse closers in today's baseball. You have Hader, you have Class, you have, I mean, who else? I mean, Diaz was, but he's out. The bullpen by committee. I mean, within 5 years, I think every team's going to be using analytics and bullpen by committee exclusively. I'm not a subscriber of that. I like having defined roles in my bullpen. I like to know that every time Sir Anthony Dominguez comes to the ballpark and the Phillies have a lead and it's a safe situation, the same guy is going to get the ball. I'm a big believer in that. Baseball players are creatures of habit. So Sir Anthony Dominguez is probably, you could argue that he has better stuff than your two aces, Nola and Wheeler.
You can make that argument. I mean, I think the guy's got. I think I saw his curveballs, whatever they are, sliders or fork balls or whatever it is he throws. That the ball goes down about 18 inches. Whatever that pitch is, that pitch works well in a bullpen. Plus, he throws about 99 miles an hour. So, to me, that's your closer right there, and I don't understand why they would use anybody else as the closer. That guy clearly has the best stuff on the out of all those pitchers back there.
And then I think we talked about Rhys a lot. We talk about Bryce. Everybody talks about Bryce. He's the straw that stirs the drink. He's the money player. But the most concerning injury to me is Ranger Suarez. You're short. You only have 2. I'll give Taijuan Walker a half a star. You have 2.5 starters because I think Taijuan Walker can be good, but Taijuan Walker is going to have games where he's going to throw in a clunker. That's just who he is, and you're paying him market rate to be your 4th starter. Now he's got to be the 3rd starter, and that just makes your whole rotation worse. That's the biggest bugaboo, I think, of the whole Phillies outlook here heading into the season. You're going to be playing in Yankee Stadium against a very good lineup, and it's going to be Bailey Falter, your number 5 guy, and then you'll be back to the top. So
the Yankees are going to be in the same situation too, Rob. They're going to have probably either Clark Schmidt or Domingo Germán pitching 2 of the 3 games, and then they'll have that they'll go back to the top of the rotation with Garrett Cole. But that's most likely where it's going to be at.
That's why I love MLB opening day.
Yeah, because it's always ace against ace.
Ace versus ace.
That's what I love about opening day myself. I love the fact that you're seeing nothing but aces pitched that day.
Garrett Cole versus Logan Webb.
Yeah, that's a nice matchup.
You're gonna have Nola versus DeGrom. We'll look at him in a little bit, but first 2 days of the NCAA tournament are awesome. And if you didn't watch any March Madness this year, I feel bad for you. It's been absolutely crazy. Just great games left and right. Yeah, Final Four with not only no 1 seeds, but also no 2 seeds. A couple of teams making.
There were 3 seeds? The highest seed's a 4 seed, I think. It's Connecticut, isn't it?
Yeah, the highest seed is a 4 seed. Connecticut. Miami's a 5. Florida Atlantic's a 9. And then San Diego State also a 5 seed.
So how many people had those 4 in their
probably
in their
nobody.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Bryce Blackwell's in the house. Haven't seen Bryce in a while. Welcome in, Bryce. Hopefully we can make a trade depending on how it goes. They're going to have to make it work. He has him at 80-plus wins. Yeah, if this team doesn't get 80 wins, I mean, that's a total disaster. I don't even think that's on the table. They're too good, even with the injuries, to be that bad.
I could see
below 500. God forbid.
I could see 88 to 74.
That should get you in the playoffs.
Yeah, it should. There's
us.
I mean, I don't see Milwaukee being better than that, and they're the only team that could really, in my opinion, give them a run for their money.
CJ Cron would be a really nice trade to make. Yes, I would make that trade tomorrow. If I could get CJ Cron tomorrow and have him in the lineup in Arlington Thursday at 4:05, 1,000% a trade I would make right now. Ryan Swoop thinks Turner should play second. He's a very good, accurate, consistent thrower. I'm going by his defense. Don't bring his hitting into it and offense into this. He's better fit to play second long term. Yeah, he's just a better player, a better fielder, has a stronger arm than Bryson Stott. So you're playing, and you're not paying $300 million for a second baseman. You're paying $300 million for an athletic shortstop that can cover ground without the shift, and that's Trey Turner. Trey Turner's your shortstop. Trey Turner's your leadoff hitter. Period. No debate. End of story. Can't be argued. Seranthony Dominguez should be your closer. 9th inning, every day. No debate. End of story. That's the way it should be. Rosca's in the house. Wow. A little hot take there by Rosca. Joey Votto's the greatest Reds player of all time.
Oh, stop.
Couldn't disagree more. I mean,
Johnny Bench, Tony Perez. Are you kidding me? Come on.
Yeah. Pete Rose was there. I mean.
Yeah, Johnny Bench, Tony Perez, Joe Morgan. I mean, I like Joey Votto too. I'm a big fan of his, but he's got some pretty stiff competition as far as some of the hitters that were on the team. Frank Robinson was on that team, was on the Reds before he got traded to the Orioles. There's a lot. They've had a lot of good hitters in their history. The Reds, not very much pitching in their history, but they've always had great hitters on their team. So.
Alec Bohm, 6'5", 230, carved out of granite. Granted, he needs to be hitting 25-plus home runs. Tell you what, if Alec Bohm hits 25 home runs, this team probably will win the division. This team probably, I just don't see it. I mean, he's been an average guy his whole minor league career, his whole college career, and thus far in the pros. Is he really going to make that jump and hit 20 extra home runs? I don't know. I hope so. That would really help the team.
Plenty of guys do it. I mean, how old is he now? What, 25, 26?
Yeah, he's 25, I think now. The Red Sox in the past have always been a team that leads the league by wide margins in doubles, but never seemed to be in the top 8 in home runs, but never lacked power as a team. In addition, they always have led the league in hits and tops in runs, on-base percentage, walks to strikeouts, pitches seen, sacrifice flies, and more.
That's because Fenway Park is the biggest joke of a professional baseball stadium in Major League Baseball. It's 315
I mean, the Red Sox
feet, and the Red Sox drill that wall with regularity.
I mean, the Red Sox haven't been playoff relevant in years. I mean, this is a team that wants to cry foul when it comes to teams spending money when they're in the Boston market.
Yeah, and when they won the championship, by the way, they had no problem spending $260 million on their payroll. And now all of a sudden they bring in, they bring in Chaim Bloom, and now they don't want to spend money anymore. So don't really know what they're doing in Boston. That's a very, very strange organization now.
I mean, finding gaps is cool and cute, and you keep the line moving. I get all that, but to win championships in today's MLB,
how about some pitching?
The two biggest factors in winning a World Series, I think, today in today's MLB is home runs and your bullpen. You need a starting rotation that can get the job done. You don't need a bunch of aces, I don't think. And obviously you have to catch the ball, but I mean, you cover up a lot of deficiencies with your baseball team if you hit the ball out of the ballpark. You saw it last year with the Phillies. They didn't have outstanding starting pitching. Suarez pitched good in the playoffs and saved them. And the bullpen, I mean, leading up to the World Series was pretty good. Alvarado kind of ran out of steam there on us. And then if you get in the dance and you get hot like the Phillies, like if you get clutch hits in the playoffs, like you're going to advance. So offense is the lifeblood of today's MLB. On base, hitting it over the fence. Ryan Swoop, he says he brought up. But, I mean, you say all that, Ryan, and the Red Sox, they stink every year. So how important is it?
Well, last year they did not hit a lot of home runs. That was part of the problem.
Yeah, 520. You still need 520 home run guys, in my opinion.
The Red Sox did not hit a lot. Last year, J.D. Martinez didn't hit a lot of home runs. His home run production was way down. So is Bogaerts. I mean, I know Bogaerts hit over 300, and Bogaerts is a great player. I can't say anything bad about him. You know, the guy can flat out hit, and he's a terrific shortstop. But he didn't hit a lot of home runs. The only guy last year on that team that really was a true slugger was the third baseman. Other than that, who was their power threat?
I don't know, but I mean, if you want to that's a perfect example. If you want to jam your lineup with doubles hitters and contact hitters, congratulations, you're the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, I mean, other than
you finish fourth in the AL East every year.
Other than Devers, who really got the job done last year offensively for the Red Sox.
This is statistically proven. I don't have the stats in front of me, but statistically, big innings start with home runs as opposed to a double, even though it's only a solo shot. You got to hit the ball over the fence, or else you are the Boston Red Sox, which I don't want to be the Boston Red Sox at all.
Yeah, and they don't have good enough pitching to not score a lot of runs. Yeah, as a matter of fact, other than Chris Sale, their pitching is profoundly weak. I
mean, I don't understand. I don't understand your Turner to second take Turner's just a better player than Stott. If
Well,
there's
you know what?
maybe
Turner played
there's
second
maybe a
base
10% chance that Bryson Stott turns into the
Turner,
fielder or
Turner
batter
played
that
second.
Trey Turner is.
Turner played second in LA because they had Seager playing short. Seager might be better defensively, but you know they don't have Seager isn't on the Phillies. Okay, he's on the Texas Rangers, so he's their best shortstop. He's their best defensive player, so he plays shortstop. That's kind of usually how it goes in Major League Baseball.
I mean, he wasn't paid just to hit and be on base. He's paid to be a defensive presence up the middle as well, which he's capable of being.
I mean,
He's better than Bryson Stott. He's just better.
He's not. Listen, he's not a Gold Glove, but he's certainly not. I mean, I wouldn't exactly say that he's a butcher either.
I would put like Bryce Harper and Trey Turner on the same tier of fielding. Gold Glovers, no, but pretty good.
Yeah, exactly.
They more than make up with it for their offense.
Yeah, I mean, you're not talking about butchers. You know, you're not talking about butchers here. Okay.
And when you have a guy in Alec Boehm who's not a Gold Glover by any means at third base, he's turned into a serviceable guy at third base after his yips at the beginning of last season. You need a guy with a tremendous amount of range playing next to a guy like Alec Boehm. And that's Trey Turner, not Bryson Stott. So, I mean, Stott at shortstop over Trey Turner is just it's ridiculous. It's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen. No, not at all.
Rob Povia disagrees to the poll. Big surprise. Representing
Rob, of course,
Mets.
Is a Met fan.
Love Rob, but
love him too.
His Cowboys Mets combo there is just.
Oh, I didn't know he was a Cowboy.
Brutal.
Rob, you're a Cowboy fan? No. Oh, well.
Yeah, and here's MBD. I do worry about the rotation. Suarez being out is a big loss. And the Suarez injury, you have no finesse. You don't really know what's wrong. He's sore and he's not throwing. Rhys, you're not going to have, so it's easier to prepare for that over a 162-game season. You have no idea.
I have a feeling you'll see Suarez by the beginning of May. I just have a feeling, he's just going to need an extended spring training.
Ryan, I don't know where this narrative is that the Red Sox have one bad year and then bounce back. The Red Sox.
Who's pitching for the Red Sox, Ryan? That's the problem.
When was the last time the Red Sox made the playoffs?
Waka's gone. Okay, Eovaldi is gone. So where is their Chris Sale? Yes, you're going to have him, and he's an outstanding pitcher when he stays healthy. But it seems like he's always hurt. Who exactly is going to pitch for them? And what would make you think
when's the last time the Red Sox made the playoffs?
3 years ago. When was the last time they didn't finish in last place?
They finished last year?
Yeah, they finished last. The Orioles came in fourth last year.
I mean, I know it's a loaded division, but
yeah, the Orioles came in. The Orioles had a 500 season last year. They were 81-81. Okay, so yeah, that division is not an easy division. Okay, you are always going to face a team who can hit better than you if you're the Red Sox. That is not a position you really want to be in. That's a tough position to be in.
2017, 2018, Ryan, that's 5 years ago. It's 2023.
That was a long
That's a long time ago in terms of sports.
JD Martinez is not on the team anymore. Mookie Betts isn't on the team anymore. Xander Bogaerts is not on the team anymore. Your best hitters are Alex Verdugo and Devers. I'm not ready to put Alex Verdugo in as I'm not ready to put him up there as a star, one of the stars of the game. He's a decent hitter, but he can't carry a team.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
Like, I have no use for guys in today's MLB that are going to hit 10 home runs and hit 280.
Unless they're part-time players.
Like, what's the point? What's the point of that? Like, what do you do for me?
Again, if they're part-time players, maybe. If they're fill-in players, okay. But
I just don't get it.
No, those aren't everyday. That's not an everyday player that hits 10 home runs in a season.
All right, let's move on around the MLB. Brad, your Yankees made noise this week.
With Anthony Volpe.
Anthony Volpe is going to be on the Major League roster. I would assume you're not having him on the roster to ride the bench. I would assume that he's going to be your starting shortstop. He is going to be
the starting shortstop. Okay, and the Derek Jeter comparisons are already starting, which is not fair for him. But you know what? He's this is a guy that everybody's been watching since they first drafted him, because when they first drafted him, his first year in low A ball, he was a stud, and he's been a stud everywhere he's gone. Last year he played like 50 games in AAA, and this spring he was absolutely terrific. I mean, he won the job. He was competing against Peraza, and he was competing against IKF. I mean, it was a three-ring circus at second at shortstop in the spring for the Yankees to see who would win it. And he clearly won it, and he hit 314. I think he had like 4 home runs and 7 doubles and hit over 300. So that's going to win you the job every time. And he shows some pretty good range. And he looks like a good offensive player. And he, throughout his spring training, throughout all the spring trainings, as a matter of fact, and throughout the minor leagues, he's been a big-time player. So this is not a surprise, at least not to me. And I just sit there saying, thank God I don't have to watch IKF playing shortstop every day, because he just didn't get the job done.
Yeah, I think this is MBD makes a great point here. Good news for Volpe is he should get room to breathe. He should get a long leash from Aaron Boone. Should get a long leash from Aaron Boone, because, I mean, there's so many stars on the Yankees. He doesn't have to be the savior.
No, and
you have Torres, you have Rizzo, you have Stanton and Judge, and
he's going to bat ninth. I mean, look, they have him, and they have Gleyber Torres. They've got plenty of guys who can hit the ball, and he's going to bat ninth. So there's going to be no pressure on him as far as the lineup is concerned. And if he does a great job and he crushes the ball, he has a chance to be the leadoff hitter. And we'll see what happens. But I'm really glad to see that he's taken over. It's good to see some of these kids finally make it into the into the big time. I mean, that's what you want. It's one down and now one to go as far as the Yankees' big-time minor league studs getting on the team. The next one's going to be Jason Dominguez, and boy, did he show some power in the spring this year. I'm sure that by the beginning of next season, you'll probably see him come up and be a big-time player. Who knows? If he has a big April, there's nothing to say that he couldn't take over in left field. Nothing to say that at all. So
the Yankees, Brad, have injuries of their own.
Absolutely. Severino is a big one. He's expected to miss 2 to 4 starts. Obviously, Frankie Montas, God only knows with him. He's probably going to be out for the season, but he stunk anyway. So that's just, Brian Cashman screwing up yet again and getting another damaged goods player. He's hurt. Biden. What the heck is the guy's name now?
Rodon.
Bader is out in center field probably till May. Rodon will be back at the beginning of May. Rodon is already throwing, and he's throwing pretty hard now. So now it's basically he's just starting spring training now. And as we all know, it takes about 4 to 6 weeks when you start spring training as a starting pitcher to get your arm in shape and ready to go. So he'll be probably back around the beginning of May. So it's not going to be. I mean, these guys are.
What is the narrative right now around the Yankees amongst Yankees fans? Are they Are they going to win the East, or are these injuries going to cost them like I think they're going to cost the Phillies a division?
No, we all figure that they're going to win anyway because you know what, they can still hit, and we think that our pitching is still pretty darn good. You know, we're lucky that we feel like we're lucky because Domingo Herman has won 19 games in his career in a season. So, and then he's been suspended and then injured, but he's pitched pretty well. He's pitched pretty well when he's pitched, and now he's healthy and he's going to be pitching in the rotation for now. So you get him. Britta was really good last year in the minors. He had an outstanding spring, so they're going to count on him to be the number 5 pitcher. You know, Cole is Cole. We expect a lot out of Nasty Nestor. He was outstanding last year. No reason why we can't expect to see the same thing this year. We're not really that worried about it. We feel like we can beat anybody. And you know,
who would you say the biggest threat to the Yankees are in the AL East?
Oh, Toronto, without question. But Toronto doesn't really have great pitching. I mean, they do have Manoah, and they have Gausman, and I'll give you them. They're very good, but the rest of their staff isn't all that good either. And I think the Yankees definitely have a better bullpen than Toronto. The Yankees don't have a bona fide closer, but they got a lot of guys who are good out there, and they do it by committee. And they seem to be, and you know, ever since Chapman started pitching like garbage in the middle of May, they started using everybody. And you know, it seemed like, you know, with one person, it seemed like it's either Wandy Peralta, for the most part, in the second half of the season. They had others. They've got plenty of guys in the bullpen. Loizaga, the guy they got from Pittsburgh, whose name escapes me right now. He had a good year last year. He made the All-Star team. I just can't remember his name right now. But they've got enough guys in the bullpen that they'll be fine. They should get Canely back around the middle of May as well. And he was the guy that they picked up in free agency. So let's not forget about him. The Blue Jays picked up Shane Green. I'm sorry, Chad Green. That should help them a little bit. But I mean, Chad Green didn't pitch last year. When he did pitch last year, he was terrible, and then he ended up getting Tommy John. So he's back and he's pitching for Toronto. We'll see about him. He was never really my cup of tea, to be honest with you. I mean, let's put it this way: he was okay if you brought him in the 7th inning to pitch to a couple of guys, but Boone had a habit of leaving him in too long, and he would get clobbered, and that's if he pitched more than 1 inning. And Boone just doesn't learn. I think the biggest problem the Yankees have is Boone. To be honest with you, I don't think anything else is that big a problem. Whether it's Donaldson or DJ LeMahieu with third base, or maybe Peraza later in the season, I'm not really all that worried about it because they've got enough guys that they'll score plenty of runs. I think that they're going to score probably they'll be between 1 and 3 as far as the most runs scored in the league. So I'm not really that worried about that. Neither most of the Yankee fans. I mean, you have a lot of guys who whine about everything, and everything that bad happens they seem to dwell on. But the Yankees are in good shape. I'm really not worried about it. I think they're going to be fine.
So you think Toronto is better than Tampa?
Yeah, I do, because Toronto just has a lot, can still hit the ball. Like the Yankees, they're a very top-heavy lineup, you know, but they can still hit, and we'll see. I'm not convinced that their pitching is good enough, and you know, just ask the Mariner fans if they think Toronto's pitching is all that great. Before they anoint themselves kings of the East, they've never beaten the Yankees ever when it mattered. So we'll see about Toronto. Tampa Bay will probably make the playoffs again. They have great pitching. Their whole staff, they're the Johnny Holstaff team. They use every possible pitcher that they have in every situation. They're not afraid to use basically the whole pitching staff in a game if they have to, and they'll be fine, like they always are. The Red Sox stink. The Orioles are getting better. Are definitely getting better, but they're still not there yet. They don't have enough pitching. So that's probably where you're at in the AL East. The AL Central is a little tougher to figure.
I
There's
love Cleveland.
there's three teams in the AL Central that can be difficult to deal with. Okay, you've obviously got Cleveland, who looks like an outstanding baseball team now, and then you've also got the Minnesota Twins, who I still think are going to be pretty good, and the White Sox, who just we can never figure them out, Rob. They are the
Nobody can. The White Sox can't figure the White Sox out.
well. I think it'll be good that Tony La Russa is no longer managing the team. I think that's addition by subtraction right there. Uh, so hopefully, for their
You know,
sake,
they lose Abreu. They bring in Benintendi.
well,
Eloy
they're
Jimenez is always hurt. Luis Robert is made of glass.
yeah. No,
Tim Anderson was hurt last year. A lot of question marks in that starting rotation. It just seems
well,
like
they have a legitimate ace. I mean,
they do. Dylan Cease is all that,
yeah,
no
he's a
doubt.
legitimate ace. The rest of them are just really up and down. I mean, and it just seems like it seems like you can never tell who's going to be good and who's not going to be good with them. They've got guys that have immense talent. Giolito, what the hell?
Immense talent. Michael Kopech, immense talent.
Yeah,
Like
Kopech has immense talent. Lucas Giolito has immense talent. I mean, none of it seems to make any sense with them. They have all these guys that are really good, and yet for some reason, they they finish at 500, and
they seem to be the poster child of the MLB in having all these guys that are featured on MLB Pipeline as the next big thing, and then they get to the south side of Chicago and they don't live up to the hype, whether it's because of injury. Johan Moncada, remember, he was all the rage. He was supposed to be the greatest thing since sliced bread.
yeah,
He's a guy that's hitting
how
15 home runs and hitting 270. Like, I can't
how,
use you.
how
Like,
how
you don't
disappointing
fit.
is he? I mean, he's supposed to be all that in a bag of chips, and what the hell is he? He just has never broken out. And it's not going to help that they don't have their closer Liam Hendricks. That's going to hurt. I mean, but the poor guy's got cancer. Hopefully he'll be okay, and he'll be able to pitch this year. But who knows with him? It's from all reports I've heard about him. He's feeling a lot better, and but he's not ready to start training. To start training and do the kind of exercise necessary to get himself in baseball condition as yet. So they can't count on him. I have no idea who their closer is going to be.
And the Twins, I don't know the Twins are like a 75-80 win team, if you ask me. The AL Central is Cleveland's to lose. They're a really good team.
I think
they should blow away. They should blow away the AL Central.
I think the Twins are going to are going to be a team. I just have a feeling that Buxton is going to be healthy this year, and if he's healthy, I think the Twins can stay in it and give some battles. The one thing I'd be a little concerned about is at second base. Polanco is not healthy. He still has after effects of the knee, so that's something to watch. But I mean, when he plays, he's an outstanding offensive ball player. So I think they're going to hit enough, and I think they can keep themselves in the division. They've got some pretty good pitchers.
The only thing I look at with the Twins is they have a lineup that doesn't overly strike out. That's really all I can.
They score runs. Who's that one pitcher that they've gotten? I'm not talking about Maeda. There's one, Joe Ryan. Is that his name?
Joe Ryan is promising. Sonny Gray, Pablo Lopez.
Sonny Gray had an outstanding season last year, and he really was lights out in the spring this year. So I mean, there's some reason for optimism in Minnesota from all I've heard. So that's something that's something to watch. As far as Kansas City and Detroit, I don't see either one of them competing this year. I think in Kansas City, I think the fans will still come out to watch their boy Salvatore Perez. But and obviously the who's the other guy? The guy that played in the WBC. I can't
Well,
remember.
they have
Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt, right?
Bobby Witt Jr.,
Yeah, he's a
Vinny
good.
Pasquantino. I
Yeah, I
think
mean,
they have some offense. I do.
yeah, I
Well,
think they have a little bit of offense, but again, they really don't have very much on the mound at all, and that's been a recurring theme with them for a while now. You know, in Detroit, it seems like every time they get a pitcher who looks good, they get hurt. So we'll see about Detroit.
I can see the Royals winning more games than the Tigers.
Yeah, maybe. Detroit has some injury issues right now. So I think
I think Vinny Pasquantino is a stud.
how
I
many
mean,
home runs did he hit last year? Excuse me.
he's probably going to be in that 20-25 range this year.
That's
I mean,
pretty good.
He didn't play that much. He came up late.
Yeah,
You give him 500 at bats. Very good plate discipline.
You give him 500 at bats, though the pitchers could actually figure out how to get him out. The question is, can he adjust and become really good? But there are signs that he can be good. That's for sure. Pablo Lopez, he's promising, but he hasn't really
Good
showed
luck.
anything yet. Yeah, he
mean,
hasn't really shown shown the kind of form. The only game I saw him pitch last season was a game against the Mets, and the Mets scored 10 runs in 4 innings against him. So that was definitely not his most
Pablo,
impressive.
I thought that was I thought that was a bad trade.
Oh, for
I thought that was a bad trade by the Twins. I would have held on to the batting champ.
Yeah, I would have too. But the Twins are a small market team, and I don't think they wanted to pay him. I think that's probably it.
They paid Correa. He's one leg.
Yeah, I know. I thought that was pretty stupid to pay him. But okay.
Don 19 is in the house.
Hey, Don. I guess because I mentioned the Tigers, that kind of woke him up, huh?
Yeah, you see, he's got the CJ Gardner Johnson, little avatar there.
I
guess he's excited about that.
Well, he should be. The Detroit Lions have a chance to win the division for the first time.
Ever.
That I can ever remember.
Ever.
I mean, I can't listen. I'm 60. I'm going to be 65 years old in another month, and I can't remember them ever winning a division. I mean, is that's correct, right? They haven't won a division since the mid 50s when Alex Karras was on the team.
I think they made wild card once with Matthew Stafford.
Well, they made wild card once with Greg Landry when Greg Landry was the quarterback back in like 1971. I think that was.
I remember they played they had Scott Mitchell. I think they played the Eagles at the Vet. I think it was 95, and they got trounced 58-37. They scored 37 points in a playoff game and got boat raced. I don't know how that's possible. This is 95 too. This is like 30 years ago.
I mean, you think about they had Megatron and they had Barry Sanders, and for whatever reason they just could never get it done. But I got to tell you, this team now looks the part. They've definitely addressed their defensive problems, and that team wins that division easily, in my opinion. Easily.
All right,
but anyway,
let's buzz out west.
Yes. 2-horse race there.
Yes. Look, the Seattle Mariners are my preseason World Series champions. I think they're terrific. I think Julio Rodriguez is terrific. I think that their GM is very, very good.
He's done an outstanding. Billy Upler, right? Isn't Billy Upler their GM now? Or am I wrong?
I don't think. What's the guy's name? Was it DePody? I think it's DePody.
Okay. Well, he's terrific.
They have
They've made some real nice moves. The Mariners, and they finally look like they're a legitimate team. They're solid. They have a solid catcher, Cal Raleigh. I think he hit 27 home runs last year. Yeah, I know his average wasn't all that impressive, but hey, you know what? When your catcher is getting you 27 home runs, then who cares if he hits 210? Because that's unexpected off. That's a place where you get offense from somewhere that maybe the Phillies are the only team in baseball seem to get offense from. So that and Kansas City, obviously, but he's terrific. Then you've got Julio Rodriguez, as you said. They're pretty loaded. France has really become a pretty good player too, by the way.
So Jerry DiPoto is their president of baseball operations. They just
Okay. I knew he. I mean, I knew he was a big part of their organization, and he's done an outstanding job at bringing that team back.
he calls the shots there.
Yeah.
I think, and they have some guy named
Okay.
Hollander.
Then I was right.
They have some guy named Hollander as their GM, but
Okay.
I think DiPoto is calling the shots because Dombrowski's not the GM of the Phillies, but he calls all the shots. So I think it's kind of a hierarchy like that. I think Sam Fold is our general manager, if I'm not mistaken. What he does if he's not making trades and roster decisions, I'm not quite sure, but that seems to be the hierarchy of the.
Well, he does the payroll and stuff like that, and the accounting and stuff general managers do, but he just doesn't do the player stuff.
But I see a team out in Seattle with no holes. Good bullpen.
Look at their
starting rotation.
Let's take a good look at it, okay? Luis Castillo. Pretty darn good.
Ace.
He's an ace. Robbie Ray, a legitimate number 2. Okay. Who's the other one?
They have Logan Gilbert.
Logan Gilbert,
very, very good pitcher.
Yeah, Logan Gilbert is the one I was thinking about. Logan Gilbert is a hard throwing right-handed pitcher who's really tough to hit. And they've got a good bullpen. Their hitting has improved 100% in the last couple of years, from 2 years ago to last year. It's amazing how much that team improved offensively. They're ready to challenge the Astros. I could see them.
They also have a number 4 starter who I really like in George Kirby. So they're 4 deep. And then you have guys like
George Kirby has been a little bit erratic, but
I mean, he's a second-year player. He's 23 years old.
Yeah,
he's stuffed in that 4th.
Yeah, well, he could listen. You could do a lot worse than him as your 4th pitcher. I mean,
I wish he was the Phillies' 4th starter. I tell you that much right now.
Yeah, he's a nice pitcher. I mean, I listen. I like that team. I think they're loaded now.
And then you bring in, you dump Adam Frazier, who didn't really do much for them, even though it was a promising trade. You have Colton Wong, who's a Gold Glove candidate, seen every year at second, and you bring in Teoscar Hernandez to hit cleanup for you.
Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez is a legitimate hitter.
You have guys like Ty France, Jarrett Kleniak, who were waiting for him to break out. A lot of people like him to break out this year. Jesse Winker last year didn't work out. So, I mean, a lot of low-key flexes when it comes to upgrades from the Seattle Mariners. Not guys that are going to grab the front headline of the New York Post, but just solid baseball moves. And,
Flexen isn't bad, and neither is who's the lefty that we always see that doesn't strike out a lot of guys.
They have Marco Gonzalez.
Yeah, he's the one. That's what I'm talking about. He can give you innings. He's a pretty good starter for a number. He's a pretty good number 5 starter. I mean, they're good. They've got a lot of good pitchers on their team. They can hit. They're also very good defensively. Their shortstop, who I think they got from the Phillies, by the way, he's legit. He can really field.
J.P. Crawford, unbelievable fielder. What's he going to give you at the dish? Nobody knows. He has his spurts. Yeah, very streaky.
He's not. I mean, he's not Derek Jeter, to be sure, with the bat, but he's pretty good though. He's really good defensively.
It's very strong. They're very strong defensively up the middle.
Yeah,
they're very strong.
They're a good fundamental team. They're not going. They're the kind of team that are not going to beat themselves. And they gave the Astros a pretty good run for their money last year in the playoffs.
And I think Houston is not as good as last year.
No.
So I have Yankees as my 1 seed. I agree with you. Even with the injuries, I think that just kind of brings them back to the pack a little bit. I think they'll be close to 100 games. Seattle 2, Cleveland 3, Houston 4, and then I don't really know where to go in terms of the remaining 2 wildcard teams.
Toronto and Tampa Bay until further notice.
Yeah, but that's easy. I'd like to find a sleeper team here in the AL that I can latch on to.
Okay, the White Sox, the Angels, Texas Rangers. It would be
I think Texas.
Texas could be. I mean,
Texas has a really deep, sneaky rotation.
Yeah, well,
if
when you
all
have
goes to plan, they shouldn't ever lose that many games in a row.
When you have Jacob deGrom and Lance Lynn as your ace and your number 2 pitcher.
Well, no, Lance Lynn is on Chicago.
Lance Lynn's gone? I thought he was on Texas.
No, he's on.
I'm wrong? Okay.
No, they have. Let me bring it up here. Make sure I'm not going crazy here.
Okay. He did pitch? He did pitch for Texas. He left? I didn't know he left.
Yeah, he's been on the White Sox for years.
But I thought they traded him to Texas.
I'm going to bring it up here, but they have. So their starting rotation is DeGrom, Eovaldi, Martin Perez, John Gray, and Andrew Heaney. That's a pretty good starting rotation.
That's not bad.
Andrew they have Lecrie at the back end.
I can't stand Heaney, but for good reason, of course.
And the top 4 in their lineup are Simeon, Seager, Lowe, Aroldis Garcia. That's pretty good as well.
You could do worse than that.
Seager's a beast. An absolute beast.
Yeah, Simeon isn't exactly chopped liver either, you know. So you can't lose either way with those two.
Chicago, I can't buy into Chicago. I know I've said that I've bought into Chicago, and they were going to be my 6th seed in the AL. I think Texas is better.
They might be.
Is Texas better than the East, though?
That's where I don't think they are. So, yeah, if you're asking me who's better between Texas,
we're gonna have the same. So we're gonna have the same 6 teams in the playoffs as we had a year ago, just in a little bit different order because I think Seattle is going to beat out Houston for the AL West. That's boring.
I think so, unless you can explain to me who you think is going to beat them and give me a good reason.
I'm trying for Texas.
What about the Angels? I mean, do they have any pitching at all? Do they have any pitching to win this year?
The Angels are probably the worst. I don't know who's worse of a franchise, the Angels or the Red Sox, but it's close. Like, the Angels are probably going to lose Ohtani to the Mets or the Dodgers in the offseason. So keep your eye on a trade deadline move there.
I mean, I'm looking at their staff, Rob. Jimmy Herget, Griffin Canning, Reed Detmers, Jamie Barria, Jose Suarez. Are these guys? No,
Patrick Sandoval, I would imagine, is going to open the season for them.
Well, they have Ohtani, obviously, who can do that.
True.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, he's right there, but I'm just looking at their pitching. I don't. Boy, their pitching is pretty.
No, they're not going to win. They're not going to win more games in Texas.
No way.
And they're certainly not going to win more games than Toronto or Tampa.
No. So then you look at who's left out there, and I don't see it. I just don't see it. I think it's the same 6 that were there last year are going to be here this year. I think the Yankees are going to end up having the best record because when all said and done, and you take a look at that starting pitching staff of the Yankees and the bullpen, they're not going to give up a lot of runs, and they'll be streaky with their hitting because they have a lot of guys who hit the ball out of the ballpark, and when they're hot and they hit a lot of home runs, they're going to score a lot of runs, and when they go into slumps and start striking out, they're going to lose a few games. That's been how it's been the last few years, and hopefully it's good enough to get us to number 28 this year. But we'll see. Inevitably, something always seems to go wrong, especially with injuries with the Yankees. So hopefully they don't get banged up, and everybody can stay relatively healthy.
I'm going to go with Toronto as the 5 seed and Texas as the 6 seed. I have Tampa out.
Okay.
Well, I think they're going to need. I think if Tampa is going to make the playoffs, they're going to need Tyler Glasnow to get healthy, which he hasn't been for years. And he's got that oblique now, and he's going to start the season on the DL.
Yeah, but that won't keep him out longer than a month.
Yeah, but I mean, it was Tommy John. Now it's the oblique. Like, what's it going to be next?
No, you're not wrong about that. Listen, that's a good argument. I wanted to check out their starting rotation.
Toronto?
No, Tampa Bay.
I mean, they have Jeffrey Springs, who I like. They have Rasmussen that I like, and obviously they have McClanahan at the top, who might win the Cy Young.
Yeah, I mean, and if when Glasnow comes back and pitches, they're going to be tough, and they've got a lot of flamethrowers out in the bullpen, and they seem to always manage to hit enough to win. So I mean, I'm not. I wouldn't be too concerned about Tampa not making the playoffs this year. I just think they're really a well-run organization. They almost always seem to do whatever they need to do. I know one guy who's going to be happy that Choi is no longer on the Rays, and that's Garrett Cole. Because for whatever reason, He-Man Choi owns Garrett Cole. I mean, you want to see a guy look like Babe Ruth? Watch those two go up against each other.
Well, I think ridiculous. Isn't G-Man Choi on the Pirates now?
Yes, he is.
So that's good for Garrett Cole.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Tampa and Texas is going to be battling it out for the. And I think in Texas the Bruce Bochy factor is real.
Yeah, that's a good pick that you made there. I think those two teams and Toronto. I think all three of those teams are going to be battling it out for the wild card, and you might see Chicago get involved. But ultimately at the end, I do think Tampa Bay just has the best pitching, and they do have enough guys who can hit. I mean, listen, Franco and Arozarena are no flukes. They're both really good hitters. And Lau is healthy now. That should really help too at second base. So I can see that team being a heck of a problem for everybody in that division.
So it sounds like you have the same 6 making it as last year.
I do. And it's going to be that way until somebody proves me wrong.
All right, let's get to the NL, do some predictions there. Then we'll get to our awards. Then we got 2 NFL topics and a hockey topic and a little Sixers Nuggets preview to close out the show. NL West, I think the Dodgers fall off.
Yeah, I disagree. I think the Dodgers are going to be okay. I mean, I know that they're not going to have what's his name? Who's the guy that got hurt?
Bueller's hurt. Turner's gone.
Right. No, I know that, but they still have Kershaw. They still have Urias. The Dodgers have a great farm system. They'll have guys. They'll have guys that we've never heard of come up and pitch great because that's what they do. I think they'll be fine. They can still hit, and I wouldn't throw them out just yet. The Padres, as great as their hitting is, their pitching stinks, and everybody tries to make like they've got good pitch. They don't. Let's be honest with you. You guys exposed them to what they really are pitching wise, and that was very bad.
I'm latching on to the Diamondbacks in the West. I'm
Okay.
latching on a surprise upstart team. They got a lot of young guys. I think they're going to score runs. I think they have just enough pitching to do some damage out there. They have a tremendous home field advantage with that humidor. I mean, outside of Coors Field, it's the number one offensive park in the league. I love Corbin Carroll. I love Jake McCarthy. I love Christian Walker. Zach Gallen's an ace.
Oh yeah, he is absolutely.
So is that a sleeper pick? Yeah, it's absolutely a sleeper pick. They're 45-1, Brad, to win the West. So I hopped on those odds. I'm going with it. I think the Cardinals have no problem winning the Central. I think they're the best team out there.
They've got a cakewalk.
The Brewers might make it. They might not. San Diego's going to make it. There's too much talent there. They're my number one wild card team. 5 seed. 5 seed, I have the Phillies. And then it's either Mets or Brewers.
I think the Mets are better than the Brewers.
Probably right.
Yeah, I can't see. Right. I can't see the Brewers beating out the Mets. That would be shocking if that happens. Not that I have any love lost for the Mets, but I'd be really surprised if that happens.
So I'm just taking out the Dodgers and I'm putting in Arizona.
Okay.
So Arizona and Texas are my sleepers to make the playoffs.
Oh, I think they make a lot of sense.
And I think it's going to be Seattle.
I don't think there's a bad picks at all.
I have Seattle over Atlanta in the World Series. Tell us who you like. You're out there listening. Post your World Series in the comments. We'll read them off. I like Seattle, no holes, and I like the Braves to finally get there. I think the Phillies have an outside shot. Phillies have the highest ceiling, I think, in the National League. If they can get it right and be healthy in time and figure out first base, I think there's a strong possibility that they could be in the World Series yet again.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with the Yankees and Braves.
The Yankees and the Braves. That would be fun. That would be fun. And they're my 2-1 seeds.
Yeah,
Yankees and the Braves.
I think they're the two best teams in baseball right now. Listen, Houston is going to be number one until somebody proves they can beat them. And I think this year the Yankees do beat them. I think the difference in the pitching staffs, the Yankees adding Rodon and the Astros losing Verlander is going to be the difference. I can only hope that the Yankees are healthy when they have to play the Astros in the playoffs this time, because last year they weren't healthy and it just they couldn't score.
Do you have any thoughts on the American League MVP and AL Cy Young?
AL Cy Young. You know what? I'm going to say it's Castillo.
For the Mariners?
Yep.
Probably some decent odds on that. The AL MVP is almost like a moot point because it's going to take someone
it's going to be Ohtani or somebody who's going to have a year like Judge to beat him.
Yeah, that's why if you're looking at sports books and don't take a flyer on American League Cy Young. Don't even bet the American League Cy Young. At least not preseason. Because it's going to take someone to hit 62 home runs for Ohtani not to win it.
You mean the MVP?
The MVP, yes.
Yeah, because it's somebody. I mean, it took somebody to break the all-time American League home run record to beat Ohtani for the MVP. And the thing with Ohtani, he's not the best hitter in the league. He's not the best pitcher in the league, but he's real good at both, and that's what makes him so good.
Well, he's probably going to win 15 games, strike out 180 guys.
Yeah, but he's not going to be. He's not going to be a Cy Young. I don't think he's going to win the Cy Young. I mean, the Cy Young is going to be for guys like DeGrom, Dylan Cease, Castillo, Garrett Cole. Those are the guys I'm looking at as realistic Cy Young candidates. Maybe you could throw Manoah in the mix. Yeah, I'm sure I'm forgetting. I'm sure I'm probably forgetting some guys, and everybody will be all over me because I forgot this guy or if I forgot that guy. But these are the guys I'd be looking at to win Cy Young that are phenomenal pitchers in the American League.
As far as National League, MVP, really like Austin Riley in Atlanta. I think he's 15, 17 to 1 wherever you look. I think he's just absolutely terrific. He's going to hit a prime spot in that order. Acuna's going to be setting the table for him at the leadoff spot for the entire season. I think Austin Riley's a beast. I think that's where I'm going with the NL MVP. NL Cy Young, I like Corbin Burns a lot. Obviously, there's probably not great odds on him right now, but Corbin Burns is pissed off that he hasn't been paid by the Brewers, and arbitration got a little ugly up there. So he's going to be motivated to have a good season. He's going to be motivated to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
I would assume that he's going to get paid by someone other than the Brewers this offseason. That's where I'm going with the NL Cy Young.
I like Corbin Burns. That's a real solid selection. I got to go with somebody else, obviously, because you already took him. How about if we, as far as MVP, I'm going to go with Nolan Arenado. I think it's time for him to just have an outstanding year. And what the hell for Cy Young? Let's go with Sandy Alcantara.
A repeat winner.
Yes, let's go back to back. He's phenomenal. I think he's the leading candidate, and until proven wrong, I would go with him.
All right, so there you have it. That's our MLB preview. Can't wait for Thursday. Going to be a lot of fun. Some of the pitching matchups. Some of the pitching matchups are going to be a lot of fun. Opening day, second best sports day of the year, in my opinion, outside of the NCAA tournament. Our MLB preview is brought to you by FanUp, best way to enjoy fantasy sports, daily NFL contests, and more. Win great prizes. Sign up today. Use promo code A2D, 5,000 bonus points. That's a $50 value. Go ahead, download their app in the Apple App Store. Also brought to you by Gleason's Bar and Grill, 6700 Mill Creek Road. A2D, 10% off promo code, dine in, take out, online, whatever. Gleason's Bar and Steaks.com for them. Let's get to a couple NFL topics here. Brad, the apple of Philadelphia's eye right now in terms of the draft is running back from Texas, Bijan Robinson. The Eagles have the 10th pick, and the Eagles have the 30th pick in the draft. Brad, is it smart to take a running back that high? A lot of people think the Eagles should be all in on Bijan Robinson. I'm not so sure. Brad, your Giants are a team that took Saquon Barkley extremely high in the draft. Second overall, I believe.
Two.
Second overall, I believe.
Thought it was a mistake. Still do. I mean, listen, I love Barkley, but I don't think in today's NFL you draft a running back that high. If I were the Eagles, I'd be drafting a corner. That's my opinion. As far as the Giants are concerned, I would be either looking for a defensive lineman and a receiver or a corner as well.
The Giants need to get receivers, but I mean,
but they're but they're going to be at 25. There may not be a receiver. It may be a reach to take a receiver in the first round, though.
But my thing with Bijan Robinson in Philadelphia is the Eagles' offensive line is so good, Brad, that I think the Eagles, as a group, between all the running backs on the roster and Jalen Hurts, are going to rush for 2,000 yards as a team.
It probably will. That's why it's a waste for them to...
With or without Bijan Robinson. Now, Bijan Robinson has a lot of talent. He can catch the ball. He's big and strong, and he has all the makings of going to be a terrific running back in this league. But Is he a game changer right out the gate? If you take a running back 10th overall, I mean, you got to get 1,500 yards out of him. I don't know if is he better than Kenneth Walker coming out of the draft last year? Is he better than Damon Pierce coming out of the draft last year? Both great day one running backs for their respective organizations. I don't know. I think if he's there, at 30, I mean, we can talk about it.
At 30, yeah. At 10, though. At 10, you guys got to get a corner. I mean, your cornerbacks are good, but they're old.
They need a safety. They need a linebacker.
Yeah, I'd be drafting one of them. But you know what? Howie seems to know what he's doing. So, whatever Howie says, I would just go along with it because he just seems to be successful at picking everybody other than anybody. As long as he doesn't draft a receiver, he's fine.
And I think that. We don't know what we had. We had 3 redshirt draft picks last year. They didn't play. Kobe Dean didn't play. He couldn't beat out TJ Edwards. Jordan Davis had the high ankle sprain. They brought in Linval Joseph and Ndamukong Suh, and Jordan Davis was a rotational piece. Jordan Davis has to start this year. Can Jordan Davis start in this league and play at a high level? The signs are there. The signs
probably.
are.
I would say probably yes.
There. Can't start at guard. So
yeah, I mean, what
you
would
don't
you
know what you had last
you
year? Not pick a running back. I would not pick a running back in the first round.
Yeah, if you're going to pick a running back in the first round, pick it at round 30, not with the 30th pick, not the 10th pick. I think that's a bad idea.
Can I get Jahmyr Gibbs in the second round?
Maybe.
Is Bijan Robinson that much better than Jahmyr Gibbs? I don't know.
No, it's tough because you just don't know. There's a big difference between college and pro. I mean, these running backs are playing with teams that are great teams that are opening huge holes for them all the time. That's why it's hard with running backs.
I think you can pick one later. I mean,
if you pick 30 is a little different than 10 though, Rob. I would make sure I draft defense because I think that's where the Eagles got beat last year was defensively. So that's where I would go.
And right now, I understand the strategy, but right now the Eagles are so good that they're picking in this draft for 2 years down the line, which can be dangerous because you have guys sit and so-called redshirt for a year or two, and then you're wasting 2 years of their rookie contract where you don't know what they can actually do for you with a large impact role. Kobe Dean's going to start at linebacker this year.
Okay.
Is that good or bad? I don't know.
Well, we'll find out pretty fast.
Everyone says he's.
I don't know that it's a bad thing for these guys to sit and watch. For rookies to sit and watch and play and not to be a regular when they first come in right away. I don't think it's such a bad thing. I think it's a great thing for quarterbacks. I think it's unfortunate that because they only get 5 years and then they get paid, that you can't really do that anymore with quarterbacks, that they have to now play right away. I don't think that necessarily does them any favors, but some of them it doesn't matter. Some of them are so good it just doesn't matter.
Now, the next NFL story, we have Lamar Jackson. And Brad, this is maybe the strangest free agent saga
because his mother
I've ever seen.
It's because his mother is his agent. I mean, it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. How could you have your mother be?
Now he apparently has a new representation. I don't know what he's doing. But it comes out today that he requested a trade from the Ravens on March 2nd.
Yeah, and the Ravens obviously don't have to do anything if they don't want to.
Well, he doesn't have to sign there because he could sit out.
If he wants, he's going to sit out in a year where he can make $40-50 million. That would be.
He's positioned himself to sit like Le'Veon Bell did if nobody pays him. I don't. But the part about Lamar Jackson
really
that I don't understand is how come nobody wants him?
Because he's been getting hurt every year.
I mean, still, I have my quarterback power rankings right here, and I have Lamar Jackson 7th in the league.
Because nobody wants him, because they're all afraid he's going to get hurt, and he wants $50 million a year. And nobody wants to pay a guy that they don't think can last the whole season because he runs the ball too much. And they're afraid he's going to get hurt. And
I don't understand. Could you imagine if Lamar Jackson went to the San Francisco 49ers?
Oh, God forbid. No, I wouldn't want to see that.
There's Ryan's. But like, if you're what logic does it make for the Colts to take a guy like Will Levis or Anthony Richardson, which are far from locks in this league? I would even put Bryce Young in that category because I think he's too small. Like, if you're the Colts, why wouldn't you trade 2 first-round picks and pay Lamar Jackson? You're in a much better position to win a championship if Lamar Jackson is your quarterback for the next 7 years than you are with Will Levis.
Yeah, but the way he plays,
Anthony Richardson.
Can he make it? Can he play for 7 years the way he plays? I mean, he's kind of reckless with his body. That's what I'd be worried about with him. I think that's what I think
the Colts is a perfect fit for Lamar Jackson. I mean, you have Steichen there now.
The
only problem is that the Colts have boxed themselves in to have Gardner Minshew be a stopgap to whatever quarterback they pick at the top of this draft. Whichever one of those 4 they get, Gardner Minshew is going to start, and then you're going to develop Will Levis or Anthony Richardson or Bryce Young. Looks like Stroud's going to go number 1. I don't understand why you just don't pony up and get Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. Shane Steichen's really good at tailoring the offense towards what he has. Remember Nick Sirianni was calling the plays here? They were throw. Wasn't conducive to Jalen Hurts' skill set. Shane Steichen takes over. They become a run-oriented offense, and they start winning a lot of games. So you're telling me your best chance to win a Super Bowl in Indianapolis isn't having Lamar Jackson and Jonathan Taylor on the same offense?
You're not wrong about that.
What about Houston? Houston has the 2nd pick and the 12th pick.
Yeah, but Houston stinks though. It's going to take them another couple of years to be relevant again.
Well, I think they picked a great head coach in DeMeco Ryans, and turnarounds happen quickly in the NFL. There's always surprise teams in the NFL. You're telling me you don't feel better about your chances in a stinky division in the AFC South if you don't trade picks 2 and picks 12 for Lamar Jackson?
What about the Titans?
What about the Titans? The Titans look to be tearing it down in the AFC South.
They still have Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry is on the block. Jonathan Simmons is on the block.
I know, but they haven't traded them yet.
They have not traded them yet. Yes. Why would you not pay Lamar Jackson his quote and give up 2 first-round picks to the Ravens for the services of Lamar Jackson? If you don't have a top 10 quarterback in the AFC, you're done.
Oh, you have no shot. There's too many good.
You have Mahomes, you have Herbert, you have Josh Allen. Presumably Aaron Rodgers is going to be in the AFC. Trevor Lawrence is in the AFC.
Don't forget
Russell
Burrow.
Wilson. We'll see how that shakes out in Denver with Sean Payton. If you don't have an elite quarterback in the AFC, you're going to be rebuilding for a while because none of those guys are going anywhere.
Yeah, you're totally screwed if you don't have a quarterback in the AFC. The AFC has all the top quarterbacks right now. Other than Hurts, I mean, it's unbelievable at this point.
Someone asked about Lamar Jackson to the Lions.
No,
Jared Goff is good.
Goff is good. Goff has finally figured it out. I don't think there's any reason for Detroit to make any changes like that.
But I mean, if you have cap space and you're not paying a quarter. Basically, if you're not paying a quarterback, you should have cap space.
Yeah, you're right.
So, like, you're the Niners. You're not kicking tires on Lamar Jackson. I don't understand why nobody wants this guy. Because he is that good talent-wise. He's got problems with injuries, and he's...
Well, Rob, I'm telling you that's why. I think a lot of people don't. A lot of teams don't want to pay
Boy,
him
I think
the
it's
money
I
he's
think it's worth
asking.
the risk. I think it's worth the risk. The
Yeah, but
Texans
what?
would be 7-10 with Lamar Jackson as their quarterback, pending health.
In that division, that division is hard. That division is pretty much a horror show. So I suppose anything could happen in that division.
The
What about
Titans would be at least 7-10.
what about Arizona, the Cardinals?
I mean, they're paying Kyler Murray a bunch of money. They're boxed in with him, for
Yeah,
better or worse.
I guess they can't trade him either, right?
Not with an ACL.
No, Minnesota. I mean, would they? I mean, because this is Cousins' last year, so maybe they trade Cousins and maybe they use Cousins as part of the trade so they could fit him in salary cap
I mean,
wise.
the only team I found in the NFC that would work and it would be scary would be the Niners. Kyle Shanahan with Lamar Jackson and all those toys out there.
Yeah, that would be. Yeah.
Like Seattle just paid Geno. I don't know what the Rams are doing. They're
What
kind of
about the
boxed in.
Saints? What about the Saints? What?
Saints have Carr.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Tampa has no cap space.
Then there's
And
the Jets.
Carol,
Then there's the Jets who haven't officially gotten Aaron Rodgers yet, but it sure looks like that's gonna happen.
I mean, when's that going to happen? The draft, I guess.
At some point they'll. That's gonna happen. I mean,
But I mean, you're telling me the Patriots aren't better off with Lamar Jackson than Mac Jones?
yeah, but I don't see them doing that though.
No, that's not a Patriot move at all.
No, that's not a Belichick. That's not a Belichick type
Well,
of thing.
Belichick seems to be allergic to playmakers, which is why they're probably going to stink again.
Yeah, that's thing is though,
Belichick likes getting guys that go sideline to sideline on defense, and that's great for defense. At least it used to be. But you need guys that stretch the field on offense, and they don't have it.
But he's always. Don't forget, he was a defensive coordinator for a good part of his career before he became a coach. I mean, that's something you have to remember. That was his strength when he was with the Jets and the Giants, and when Parcells moved to the Cowboys, I think he was a defensive coordinator, and then he finally coached the Browns. That didn't work out, and then he was supposed to coach the Jets, and somehow the Patriots stole him away. I don't know how that happened, but it did.
I don't understand why. It's not even like, what about the Commanders? The Commanders would make sense.
Yeah, they would. That would be scary if they got him.
I mean, the Commanders would rival, in my opinion, would rival the Eagles, pending you get Lamar Jackson's best, which I think if he signs, he should be motivated because nobody wants him. Atlanta, another team. Atlanta would win the South, I think, rather easily if they traded for Lamar Jackson. I just don't understand the zero interest. Zero.
Well, there's got to be a reason. I think it's the money, and I think it's the the injury problems. I think those two reasons everybody's scared off by him.
What should he make though? He's a former MVP. He's always in the playoffs. He's an electric athlete.
Yeah, how much money does he want though?
He's got a cannon of an arm.
I know, but how much is enough for him? I mean, I know the Ravens offered him 40 and he didn't take it. What is it he wants?
Does he want a fully guaranteed contract like Deshaun Watson?
That's what I've heard. So and nobody wants to give him that.
Why would you be opposed to that if you're the Colts, the Texans, the Niners?
Because what happens when he gets hurt?
The Titans.
What happens when he gets hurt, though?
But I mean, do you want to win a championship or do you want to not? Yeah, there's only 6 quarterbacks better than Lamar Jackson in the league.
But what happens when he gets hurt? And it seems like he gets hurt every season now.
I think there were extracurriculars. I don't think he wanted to play last year because of his knee. I think he could have played. The Ravens knock out the Bengals if Lamar Jackson plays in that wild card game.
Oh yeah, they absolutely do. They should have anyway. I mean, the fact that they on a quarterback sneak, he stuck the ball out. The guy stuck the ball out too far, and it got knocked out of his hands and returned 99 yards for a touchdown. Is a crazy way to lose a football game, but basically that's why they lost, because of that play.
And then you look at the Ravens, they've alienated this guy, whether it's their fault or not. Contract negotiations haven't gone well. And we just talked about the quarterbacks in the AFC. So now you're going to lose Lamar. I don't think Lamar plays for the Ravens ever again.
Well,
and you're not winning a Super Bowl with Tyler Huntley, even though he's a nice little player.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Tyler Huntley is pretty good, though. He's not bad.
Because now you got Deshaun Watson, albeit his flaws as a person, whatever's going on there, he can throw the ball. I would expect the Browns to have a better season with him.
Yeah, I mean, free
of that drama.
He should be able to have a peaceful season this year and just go out and play. You know, I mean, he hadn't played in a year and a half, and the rust showed. You know, I think he'll be a much better player next year.
I guess, Brad, what I don't understand is why teams are willing to really take a risk on Anthony Richardson or Will Levis as opposed to trading for Lamar Jackson. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's like hitting on 16 in blackjack. Yeah, you're supposed to do it most of the time, but how many times does it work out? Half?
If you're lucky.
So I've never seen just the lack of interest from a most important position in pro sports is the quarterback. If you don't have a good one, you got no shot. And I have him 7th. I don't see how you can put him outside of the top 10 on any power rankings in terms of league wide. That just everyone's turning their nose up at him. I don't get it. I just don't get it. Quickly, the Flyers, Brad, little hockey. Remember when I said that the Flyers should entertain trading Carter Hart because they don't have anything around them and they can get a lot for him? I'm an idiot. They shouldn't do that at all. I was at the game on Saturday, and he stood on his head, and the Flyers were able to beat the Red Wings 3-0. And when I say stood on his head, that's exactly what he did, was stand on his head.
He's a very good young goalie. He's 24, 25 years old? He's not that old. He matches up with the time frame that the Flyers are going to need when they start competing again. There's no reason, and especially goalies usually don't hit their prime till 28, 29 years old. Why on earth would you want to trade the guy? I mean, the way you build a hockey team is from the inside out. In other words, you build with your goalie first, then your defense, then your forwards. That's how you build a hockey team. And the hardest position to fill is goalie, to have a good franchise goaltender. So as far as I'm concerned, that would be stupid because I think for him to get traded, because they're not going unless you have an immediate replacement in mind, and they don't have an immediate replacement in mind. Okay, just to trade it for draft picks, I wouldn't do that.
It's just frustrating as a Flyers fan because how many cups in the early 2000s did this team miss out on with loaded rosters because they didn't have a goalie? And now they have the goalie and they don't have anything else.
The proof is in the pudding, okay? When they won the Stanley Cup, they had arguably one of the great goaltenders of all time on their team, Bernie Perron. Okay? In my opinion, he's the second best goaltender I've ever seen play in the NHL, and I've been watching hockey for a long time. The best goalie I ever saw was, obviously, to me, was Ken Dryden. But, be that as it may, these guys these guys, it's you have to have a good goalie in order to win the Stanley Cup. Okay, you're not gonna. It's very hard to get a team like the Avalanche who have a zillion great offensive players. Okay, and it's very hard to find a really good goalie. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't trade him. All the other guys, fine. I trade anybody on that team. Uh, that's not one of the that's not one of the real young players. The guy that they got from the Tippett, I wouldn't trade him. I wouldn't, I wouldn't trade Frost. There's a few guys on that team I wouldn't trade, but guys like Konechny and Hayes, and any of the other veterans, I'd trade them in a minute. And try to build that way because they don't fit. They don't fit the timeline. If it's going to take the Flyers 2 to 3 years to become competitive again.
Don 19. The Vikings have the second highest odds for Lamar.
Oh, again, that makes sense because you could give them you could make you give what's his name Cousins that you could send them Cousins in exchange so that they get a quarterback back. They get back a quarterback and it makes the money work. And then you give them the 2 first-round picks, and they'd only be stuck with Cousins for 1 year because Cousins is going to be a free agent after next season. So that does make sense, Don. I hear you with that.
All right, last thing of the night. Sixers proved to me Saturday night why they aren't real, why they're not contenders. They're not beating Boston. They're not beating Milwaukee, excuse me. Saturday night, they're on the West Coast. They're playing the Denver Nuggets, which that game should be underway right now. No Joel Embiid tonight against Jokic, which why? I don't know. You need all the wins you can get, especially losing 2 straight to the Warriors. We can excuse the Warriors' loss because Harden didn't play, and the Warriors are really good. Their record doesn't indicate where they rank on the pecking order of championship contenders. They're going to be right there. But you go to Phoenix, and Phoenix doesn't have Durant or DeAndre Ayton, and not only do you lose, you get boat raced. That's a monster red flag because that team's not that great without 2 starters. They traded all their depth for Kevin Durant. So for you to go out and lose that game, even though you didn't have Harden by that many points, just shows me that they don't have it. They're not an upper
They are an upper echelon team, but they may not be a championship team. They are an upper echelon team, though. I mean,
they're just not. They're not at all. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully, Joel Embiid gets the MVP. His odds went from minus 150 to minus 110 for the MVP because he's not playing tonight. But I don't see how they win tonight without Joel Embiid with Jokic on the floor.
Yeah, who's going to keep him under control?
No one. Jokic's going to get a triple-double, and they're going to lose on the road again to a team that's at their level or above their level. They can't get it done against these good teams. That's why I can't buy into the Philadelphia 76ers. Because without Joe, who's going to carry the load? B-Ball Paul and P.J. Tucker? P.J. Tucker is allergic to offense. He's allergic to offense. He makes $10 million a year for the next 3 years, and he's allergic to offense. And I like P.J. Tucker. He's got great intangibles. He's a good veteran. He's good on defense. He rebounds.
You know who that sounds like? Dennis Rodman.
Except he's not Dennis Rodman at all.
No, I understand that, but that was Dennis Rodman. That was Dennis's forte, though. Great rebounder, great defender, and would score 2 to 4 points a game. Would put back a couple of shots.
So I don't know. I was really disappointed in the Sixers. I guess I shouldn't be because this is their MO when they play good teams, but I was really disappointed that they got boat raced by the Phoenix Suns, and I think it tells you a lot about their chances when it comes to the Eastern Conference against Boston and Milwaukee, and obviously it tells you where they stand in the West because they couldn't beat Golden State and they couldn't beat Phoenix. Now they're probably going to lose to Denver because they don't have Joe. He needs the rest. Load management.
Well, listen, as far as that goes, I think that they definitely want to make sure that he gets his rest. I mean, that I understand. I mean, you want to make sure that he's healthy going into the playoffs because he is the most important player on the team. So that I can sort of understand. If that's the only reason he's not playing is because they just want to give him a
But
rest.
to me, load management should be out the window because if you don't have home court, you're not going to win anyway.
Well, I think they shouldn't be resting him against Denver. They should be resting him against bad teams. That's when he should be getting the rest.
I mean, he just got the whole second half off when they beat the Bulls by 30 the other night.
That doesn't make sense then. I mean, is he hurt right now?
Who knows? I think they said like an ankle, like whatever they said, why he's not in the
Okay.
My phone died, so I don't know what the exact designation was for him missing this basketball game. But you need you need win, especially losing 2 straight. You can't lose 2 straight and load manage Joe.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. They shouldn't be doing that. You're right.
Because now you're losing 3 straight, and you're in jeopardy. I don't have the standing.
How about if they were able to pull one out against Denver without him though? That would be quite the accomplishment.
Benny DeLong, calf soreness is the designation. Thank you, Benny.
Calf soreness.
So he's not playing because they're resting him.
Okay, got
calf soreness. Like, come on. Anyway, it should be interesting. Anyway, thank you to everyone who listens, like, subscribe, share. Thank you to our great sponsors, all of our followers at A2D. Enjoy opening day. Should be really fun. Yankees, Giants, Rangers, Phillies. Should be a very exciting day. All the pitching matchups. Spectacular day in sports.
Ace versus ace. I mean, does it get any better than that?
No.
I mean, all the dream matchup pitching. You gotta love it.
And
you don't get to see this until the playoffs, folks. So enjoy opening day.
And then we will be back rocking and rolling next Monday night, same time, same place, right here on A2D Radio. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, turn those notifications on. Don't miss a damn thing. Until next Monday, peace out, everybody.